7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's 10:04. I mean, technically, I'm a minute late there. It always cracks me up looking at the comments every day. Some people, I suppose there are people joining in new every day. Yeah, I am actually a minute late today, so I can't really say much. But good morning to all of you. We're here to talk about the latest on the sale of Manchester United. After a pretty interesting interview, well, the interview's not come out yet with Gary Neville and Alexander Ceferin, who is the Uefa president. That's coming out today at 3 p.m. on the overlap. But Martin Ziegler from the Times has got quotes from it already. And I think this is really, is my microphone working properly? Let me quickly check that. I hope it is. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let's just forget about that. It's not popping up green. It normally pops up green for me. That's a bit strange. Is my microphone good volume? Can everyone let me know? It might be a little bit quiet, actually. I'm just not quite sure. You can let me know. But good morning to all of you. Hope you're good. Sounds good to everyone. Nice. Josh, I can see down there that the mods on YouTube are having a bit of an issue with modding this morning. I've just did a little bit of a check, and it looks like YouTube's having some sort of bug. So I don't know what's going on. That's not actually to do with us here. That's to do with YouTube. So I apologize to everyone if the comments are going a bit crazy today. That maybe they won't be as measured as usual. But we'll try and get on top of that. Right. Let's try and get past these distractions. Good morning to all of you. Fred, good morning to you, mate. Gary, I can see you there. Jimmy, Gungshi, the biker boy, Miss Teacup there. You say I kind of missed the husky voice. Man, that was like a good 2 weeks where I was like, but look, I'm a little bit better now. Good morning to you all. Ash? I'm sure there's an Ash here somewhere. And Peter, we've got Chris, we've got Liam, we've got Sean, Daniel, Treaser, Daz. Who's on Facebook? We've got Noel Deeves, we've got Christopher Shaw, Suraj. Good morning to everybody. Let's jump straight in with what I personally would say is a big update on the sale of Manchester United. I'm going to speak about, there's a little tiny update from Ben Jacobs in terms of the meetings. We're going to run through a little bit from ESPN, and then we're going to focus on this developing story, this interview that will come out with Alexander Ceferin today on the multi-club ownership model, because I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation that we need to have down here as a community this morning. Let me pull this up so I'd make sure I don't miss a thing, because I think I can see down here that the man himself, it's that time. Bringing out the Gongshi for Gongshi. Oh, man. I hope that doesn't get clipped up and put somewhere. It probably will. But it's for the community, so it always puts a smile on my face. Big up to you, Gongshi, and big up to everybody who continues to support the channel. I always say it every day. It means the world. If you haven't already entered the raffle, trust me, we're giving away a PS5 for £1. I mean, what more could you want? What more could you want? But yeah, let's run through the stories. Let's get into it with 3-4 minutes of waffle, as we do at the start of every single show. Let's run through it. Ben Jacobs, who you know full well. We've had 4 interviews so far, me and Ben. And we're going to have another interview very soon when there's a really important update to speak about. If we rewind to last week, this is what we knew. We knew that Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani and the 9-2 Foundation, the Qatari bid. We know that Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that those 2 bids have progressed to the second stage. We found out subsequently that the likes of Elliott Group, is it MBS Partners? Either way, 2 or 3 hedge funds from America, investment firms, they had reached the second stage. And this second stage, which is now happening last week and this week, that is where these meetings are taking place at Old Trafford. We've got a little bit of insight into what's going on during these meetings, but Ben Jacobs here confirming that Bank of America representatives are there joining with the 9-2 Foundation in terms of these meetings. They are there representing them. Now, that's not something to be alarmed about. We knew about this, I think, around about 3 weeks ago, roughly, I think. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we found out that the JBJ bid, the Qatari bid, had linked up with Bank of America for what would you say, in an advisory capacity, in the same way that Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they linked up with Goldman Sachs from a advisory perspective. So it's not something to be massively concerned about. And when you come with a bid of the scale that's going on with Manchester United, 4, 5, 6 billion, you're going to need some advice on that. So that's going on this week, and they are sitting in on these meetings. Now, in terms of what's going on during these meetings, look, you can read into this if you want. This is the ESPN article that came out yesterday, I think, when we were live on stream together. And I said there really wasn't too much of an update from it, and there really, really wasn't. This is something that I don't particularly see as realistic. But ESPN are saying, look, after the second stage of the process, which could conclude by the end of the week, interested parties will be asked to submit revised bids. Now, I've spoken about this before, and I don't particularly think that that's realistic. That's just my own instinct. I think I've always said that I felt this stage is where it's probably going to slow down a little bit. Now, I might be completely and utterly wrong, but ESPN are suggesting here, maybe they've got sources far better than I don't have any sources. I've never pretended to. We just read the news here. And by the way, let me just quickly say this. Can you stop just shout? Can you stop having full-on arguments in the comments, please? This is what happens. And I'll take this moment here to thank all the mods who every single day keep the comments in check, because this is something that I tried to make it genuinely interactive here, right, on United People's TV, which I don't really think that anyone else does. And it's difficult if the conversation just descends into chaos and just two people having an argument. It distracts me, and I can't do the show. So if you're just going to argue down here in the comments, I'm just going to ignore the comments for the whole show. It's your choice. You can choose. Natasha, thank you so much for the super chat, super sticker there. Ooh, look at that. It's nice and bright red. I think down there, man, look at that. Jonathan, indeed, man. Jonathan Jonkman. Nearly so good they named him twice. Gonna have to whip out the gong for you, sir. Maybe just little taps. That's what we'll do. We'll do little taps these days. Otherwise, it's going to really, really piss people off. But the more important, in my opinion, the more important part of this show today, look, I don't particularly think that this is going to be resolved by the end of next week. I think this is going to be something that drags on for quite a while because of the difference in valuation. But this really is an interesting one. Now, that is Gary Neville sat there on the set of the overlap with Alexander Ceferin, who is the president of UEFA. And he said some very interesting things about the multi-club ownership model and UEFA's rules on them, because this is something that we know as, if you're looking at the structure of the Qatari bid, it's exactly why the 9-2 Foundation has been created. It's exactly why Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is the man fronting it, because as far as Qatar is concerned, they've created enough separation between QSI and the ownership of PSG and this new foundation. So they're confident that these rules don't need to be changed anyway. But this is really, really interesting, because they are rethinking their rules on multi-club ownership. Now, I'm going to run through this before I head down into the comments here. Daniel Hong, how you doing, buddy? There, you sent a super chat and you sent this in. Said, I'm from the USA, had to get up early for the flight. Love watching your content, man. I love everyone around the world, man. It's big up to every single one of you watching. Wow, geez, Siam, man, that's incredible, man. Thank you so much. You just gifted 20 memberships. Yeah, you get a gong. Of course, you get a gong. And I can't wait until. Basically, I'm gonna. Oh, I won't tell you what I'm gonna do, but I've got good ideas. I've got really good ideas for how we're taking this forward. This is just the first iteration of it, of me. I don't know. I'm waffling a little bit now. I'm going to head to the news now. I'm getting really distracted by the comments this morning. As I say, big up to the mods who help actually control this, because I don't normally see this sort of stuff. But yeah, I've realized that there are, apologies to everyone, there's bugs on YouTube today. It goes to show you it goes to show you this it's a genuine community, and the chat is normally, well, sorry. Anyway, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to close the chat for a little bit because I'm getting distracted. Right, let me run through the news here. UEFA are rethinking, as I said, the multi-club ownership rules, and that could have a direct impact on the sale of Manchester United. I'm going to run through what Alexander Seferin has actually said here. He said, "We are not thinking about Manchester United only. We've had 5 or 6 owners of clubs who want to buy another club. We have to see what to do. The options are that it stays like that, or that we would allow them to play in the same competition. I'm not sure yet. We have to speak about these regulations and see what to do about it. There is more and more interest in this multi-club ownership. We shouldn't just say no for the investments for multi-club ownership, but we have to see what kind of rules we set in that case, because the rules have to be strict." When it comes to multi-club ownership, from Manchester United's perspective, and what that could mean and how that could affect the takeover of our club, it affects both of the bidders who are interested in full takeovers. From the Qatari perspective, you've got QSI and the ownership of PSG. From Jim Ratcliffe's perspective, you've got the ownership of Nice. You could go further and say you've also got the ownership of Lausanne in Switzerland too. Both potential takeovers could therefore be involved in multi-club ownerships. Now, multi-club ownerships have become, I wouldn't say fashionable. That's the wrong way to describe it. But if you're looking at how the game has changed, multi-club ownerships are a big, big part of it. And there's a couple of major examples of that. You got City. I mean, I don't know how many clubs they got in their group. The City group, right? Man City, New York City, Melbourne City, Yokohama Marinos, didn't know that. Montevideo, didn't know that. Girona, didn't know that. Sichuan, Jinyu, Mumbai FC. My God, look how many they got. Obviously, they don't own all of these clubs. I think they own part of some. Well, some of them anyway. That's the City group. What about Red Bull? You know about Red Bull. Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull Leipzig, New York Red Bulls, Red Bull Brazil, FC Liefering, and then all the other sports teams that they are involved in. But something you may not have known is the multi-club ownership model and how far it goes in terms of the Premier League and investment that exists inside the Premier League, right? Take a look at this. This is from The Athletic. So Stan Kroenke, Arsenal's owner, owns 100% of Colorado Rapids. Brentford's owner, Matthew Benham, owns 75% of Midtjylland. Crystal Palace, look at the investment there. David Blitzer, by the way, who we all thought might be involved from an investment perspective in United. Look how many clubs he's got, how many pies he's got his fingers in. And City down there, well, I've already explained that. It's, in my opinion, hate's a strong word. I dislike the multi-club ownership model. And I wish it had never come into football. But I also don't know how you would have really have stopped it, because ownership can be staggered. So it might be I'm not using Manchester United as an example of this, but I'm sure it's happened in other clubs. That when the Glazers came in, they bought up a certain amount of shares, and then bit by bit they increased their ownership until they eventually own the whole of the club. Football clubs are allowed. How do you get around this? This is what I want to ask you as a community, right? Because this is the way that football has gone. And this is why UEFA have now reached a point where they're going, you know what? We're going to have to think about the multi-club ownership model. Now, Mecca, you're saying that multi-club ownership is okay if they are in different confederations. So what you're saying is that the problem exists when there are 2 clubs inside the same league, right? So you're saying that the same owner can't own 2 Premier League clubs, for example. I think that's what you mean. But from UEFA's perspective, UEFA is a European institution. that brings all the leagues together. So it directly affects them. It's, John, I personally agree that multi-club ownership is a bad idea. I think what it ultimately does is it really makes it makes football more elite, or more for the elitist, if you know what I mean. Because the big clubs can just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And because they're not on, like Manchester United back in the day, I'm not sure if you remember, I think it was Royal Antwerp. We had a partnership with Royal Antwerp. I think it was, what was it, Marnik Vermeij? There was a Belgian defender. There was quite a few players that we used to send out. Oh, what was his name? I think maybe Ryan Tunnicliffe as well might have gone there. There was a club in Belgium, I think it was Royal Antwerp, that we didn't use it as a feeder club, but we had a partnership. You know how sometimes you drive through towns in the UK and it says partnered with, and there'll be like a random town in Germany that your local town is, I don't know, partnered with. That's kind of what United's relationship was like with Royal Antwerp. It would be a place where we could send our youngsters on loan. We know that they get good experience there. I don't know whether René Meulenstein was linked with them as well at that same time. But the multi-club ownership model is massively different. It's basically the concept. It's very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous for the established football pyramid. Right? It might be great for City. It might even end up being beneficial for Manchester United. It probably would be if it came in. Twinned. That's what it's like, Chris. Yeah, twinned. That's better. Twin cities rather than partnered. You know what I mean? You know what I was trying to get at there. I don't particularly like it. But the fact here that UEFA are considering their position on it is only going to give both JBJ and Jim Ratcliffe more confidence in their own bids. Now, it will give more confidence to JBJ in the immediate short term, because if it all goes through, right, and the Qatari bid is successful and they become the owners of Manchester United, it will be from next season immediately, where Man United and PSG, fingers crossed we finish inside the top four, which it looks like we will, it will be immediately that both PSG and United are playing in the same competition. That could happen in the goodness of time with Nice, and if they are successful and break into the Liga Champions League spots. But it has an immediate impact on the JBJ bid and the Qatari bid. And I want to know where you stand on this, right? Because for me, I don't particularly think this is good news for the game of football, but I'll be honest, man. And I don't think it's just old bloke moaning, oh, it was better back in my day. But rule changes and tweaks and things that have happened in football over these last couple of years, it's made it a little bit less enjoyable for me. It has. I have to admit that. I've definitely got a little bit less enthusiasm for the game. VAR, I think, has been an absolute abomination. And I'll speak about it. There's more evidence of it last night. Fatty, you're down here saying, look, I thought PSG and United would have different owners. Look, even if these rules didn't go through, there's enough confidence in separation from that Qatari bid that they would not get around the rules, but effectively get around the rules in the same way that Red Bull Leipzig and Red Bull Salzburg, they got around the rules. They proved that there was enough separation between the two owners, that they didn't have enough influence over each other, and it worked. Ah, damn it. And I've just realized there, I'm going to have to do this live and direct. That's when you know. That's when you know that we're having a bad day, because I've got a spelling mistake in the overlay. Sacked. I should sack myself. Let me try and get that sorted whilst we're live. See if this works. Hopefully I don't break everything. Our survey says I should sack myself. I don't know what that word that Anyway. We fixed it. 20 minutes it only took me to fix. I'm going to try and head down to the comments here and see what you're saying. And you're saying it could garner other advantages too. For example, say JBJ bought us and then bought Benfica. Nothing to say we won't have access to the scouting network. Yeah, I just don't think it will create circumstances where the bigger clubs can just get bigger because they're going to have they're going to have huge funds, and all of a sudden, if you can then sweep up and buy up clubs, you can create feeder networks for yourself. You don't really need a scouting network if you've got 3 clubs. You can just move players around your clubs. It's a shame. It really is a shame, man. I'll be completely honest. It's not that the game's gone, but just the way it's going and continuing to go, it's just another example of it that I don't particularly like. It's a bit like expanding the World Cup to, what is it, 48? I don't know how many teams they've expanded it to, but they're expanding the next World Cup, going up from 80 games to 104 games. They're trying to expand the UEFA Champions League to play more football, more football, more games, more broadcasts, more revenue, more games, more. It's greedy. It's because supply will never really exceed demand. Ultimately, it would affect the quality. I mean, it will, because there's just so much of it. And it's a real shame. I suppose I'm kind of moaning here a little bit. Kind of just, yeah, kind of moaning about the way that football's gone. And there's nothing that we can do about it. Do I want to be in a position where I'm looking at a Qatari takeover as a potentially very good option for Manchester? No, I do not. But here we are. It's the way that football's gone. It's the way that our club ownership has gone. Of course, UEFA will reconsider, says Red Devils Down Under. More money in the game. It's a shame. Greed, like you're saying it down there. It's exactly what it is. It's pure greed. It's another version of the It's not another version of the Super League. I don't know what to say. I'm normally more. I know exactly what I'm going to say here on the stream. I've got it all prepared. I think I'm just a little bit distracted this morning because there's a few bugs. Apologies about that. It's not as good a show today as it normally is. Or you're saying down there, you're saying the rich get richer, and there's definitely a disconnection between the club and local communities. Yeah. Or I spoke to my good mate James Alcott yesterday. Big up James for his Spotify original podcast, The Ripple Effect, and we spoke about this. And basically, what's happened in football, or what's happening, is whoever comes in as new owners of Manchester United, they don't really care about the local fans. And it's not about the local fans, it's about the legacy fans. That's what we call ourselves, legacy fans. Because they may well lose the support of X amount of fans who are legacy fans, but they might gain a bigger percentage, or even actually a lesser percentage, but a bigger number of global fans. And that's more important to them, because football's a global game. And it's that inability to basically serve both types of fans at the same time. Yeah, honestly, I've spoken to quite a few people about it, quite a few mates, quite a few United mates as well. Just that disconnect between what football is now and what football was only a few years ago. And ultimately, it's money that's changed it. It's money that's always changed it, really. It's money from Roman Abramovich and Chelsea coming in that changed the scale and the scope of the Premier League in the first place. And now it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Paul, yeah, to use my words there, absolutely. It is a billionaire's playground now. And that's why we're at the position where we genuinely have got to entertain the idea of a Qatari takeover. And can you imagine if you had told any United fan, if you had a conversation with any United fan back in 2009, say, right, in 14 years' time, Man United are going to possibly be taken over, but possibly going to be subject to a Qatari takeover. United fans would have just laughed at you, just laughed in your face. That's how against it we were. And here we find ourselves in this position through no fault of our own as fans. It's horrible, man. It's really crap. It really is. I genuinely mean that. But that's just the way that football's gone. Deary me. Apologize, as I say, I apologize about this show. It's it definitely doesn't has the same flow as I normally do every morning. Got distracted. I don't know what is going on with YouTube. I hate when YouTube has bugs. I suppose everyone's entitled to bugs. Look, let's move on from the moaning about how crap football is. Well, not how crap football is, but how, I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely a little bit more disconnected with football than I was a few years ago. But I can't stop loving football, and I won't stop loving football. It's a shame to see the way it's gone. Moving on to some other talking points, which are really, really important. We've had confirmation yesterday that Alejandro Garnacho has suffered ankle ligament injury. I'll run through this in a sec. There's a comment there I really want to pick up on the super chat from Mekajin saying, look, I'm really disappointed with the way that a lot of people are completely disregarding the human rights issues. I haven't. We haven't. I've not found the right and the appropriate time for that conversation to be had. Now, I'm going to hopefully be doing that in these next 2 weeks. Past Sunday, there's 2 weeks without football. 2 full weeks without football. That's when I want to try and have that conversation. Because if I was going to have that conversation in between playing games every 3 days, it would just get forgotten about within 24 hours. Just... you need a conversation like that, which is important. You need time to let it breathe, which is really hard to do when you're playing every 3 days. But that's what as I said, these next 2 weeks from Friday, I'm trying to plan out the content that's coming out. Loads of more in-depth and insightful and research pieces into the Qatari ownership of PSG, into Ineos's ownership of Nice and Lausanne and their profit and loss, into maybe scouting reports, looking at Osimhen, looking at Kane. There's loads and loads of stuff, right? There's loads and loads of stuff. Big up to everyone for your compliments, by the way. I do appreciate it. I'm just being a little bit harsh myself. High standards, right? Got to have high standards in life. Look at that. Oh, wow, John, thank you very much, dude. You just gifted 10 memberships as well. That, sir, deserves a gongshi. Just a little one. Just a little gentle gongshi. That's what we call it. Little gentle gongshi. Let's go over here. As I said, it's sad, man. It's really, really sad for him that he's got that injury. He was there speaking about it. He's had such a cracking breakthrough season. You remember before the World Cup, I can't remember who it was that got injured for Argentina. It doesn't really matter who it was. Somebody got injured for Argentina, and there was conversation around whether Garnacho is going to go to the World Cup. Now, a lot of United fans were excited, and of course, excited about the idea. I didn't really feel like it would have been the right time for him to go. You know, maybe it would have been amazing for him to just be there and be part of that. But we don't know how long he's going to be out for. But in my opinion, it raises a really important point. I think this is almost worth doing a video on separately this week, but it feels like I've moaned about the referees enough. I think my lunchtime video today is going to be focused purely on Harry Kane, because a lot has been said around Harry Kane in these last 72 hours. Clearly, the press are being fed information from the club, and I want to comment on it. Jimmy, you're saying this. You're saying it would be interesting to see what they do with owners that already own more than one club. Will they make them sell some off? I don't think so. In fact, quite the opposite, Jim. They're not saying that they're going to rethink and stop multi-club ownership. They're going to rethink and say everyone's welcome to do it, because I think they've realized, UEFA has realized they can't stop it. This multi-club ownership model has manifested itself, and there's nothing that they can really do. But back here to what I was saying around Garnacho and that injury, this week, there's been a real hyper focus on referees and the lack of quality of referees, the lack of consistency in referees. And I'm sorry to pull this photo up for Donny. It's important because it's probably... There's 3 tackles that have happened this season, right? At Manchester United, none of which have led to any punishment. That was a tackle that happened for Donny van der Beek, which ruled him out for the rest of the season. And there was no yellow card. If I'm looking, I know that the player slipped, but still, I'm not saying there was any intent in it, but that's one of them. The second one here, the tackle from Andy Carroll on Christian Eriksen. Again, no punishment, no yellow card. Andy Carroll ended up getting sent off, but that wasn't one of it. He didn't get a yellow card from that. And look at the danger of that tackle. He's like, what, a foot and a half, his knee height, scissoring. That's the issue here. The scissoring of the tackle. 2 legs wrapped around 1 leg. 1, 2, 3 examples of it. Maybe not so much the first one. And then this is Garnacho's. Now, in real time, I'm looking at that, and I actually felt that Kyle Walker-Peters made a pretty decent tackle. But Garnacho has now suffered ligament damage. These players need protecting, man. These players really do need protecting, that because like this one was just straight up assault. Like Andy Carroll realized at that point, it looked like he realized that the game, he was done at that level, and he was like, well, sod this, I'm just going to go out and hurt people. That's what Andy Carroll was doing in that game. Should have and could have got a red card, straight red card for violent conduct for that. But something has to be done around these tackles. And I'm not just talking about Manchester United's perspective. Something has to be done around refereeing, because there's just so much that is getting missed. And last night, right? Where is it? This one absolutely blew my mind. Right? This blew my mind. I'm sure you watched it yesterday. Man City against Red Bull Leipzig. We don't need to speak about what the score was. But Ederson came rushing out of his goal, completely missed the ball, took out the Leipzig player, and Timo Werner got a yellow card for complaining. And this is a conversation that we had yesterday. I said, is it just the Premier League refs that are bad? Or have we just got more exposure of it? Is it everywhere? And there's your answer yesterday. In the Champions League, that was absolutely... I can't even describe how crazy that decision was. Not only give Ederson nothing, but to book Timo Werner for complaining about it. Where was VAR? And this is what I mean about falling out of love with football. The penalty that happened in that City game yesterday, nobody was even arguing about it. It just happened in the madness of it all. All of a sudden goes, actually, here's a penalty you didn't ask for. And it was that the ball was behind. Look, it's pissing me off, because I watch football because I want to watch football. I want to speak about the game. I want to speak about the goals. I want to speak about the incidents. Yes, but I don't want to have to focus on the referees. And it's boring. And it's going to kill the game. The longer this happens, like, controversy has always existed in football. I'll always remember that offside Chelsea at Old Trafford when Drogba was like 4 yards offside. That title deciding game where they went on to win the title should never have counted. Porto and the Champions League, was it the goal that scored? Was it Scholes scored that was offside? That wasn't offside? I think it was that. There's been controversies, and there always will be controversies, but it's just like, it feels like refs are on a power trip these days. It's crap. And it's just, it's like, sort it out, please. Please sort it out. Like, the VAR was supposed to come in and sort these problems out, but it's made it 10 times worse. It really has. I feel like I'm moaning a lot this morning, but it feels like there's reason to moan. I suppose it is that it's the changing landscape of football, right? Natasha, I would agree with you down here saying it's spoiling the game, because I think it is spoiling the game. It's I don't know, man. It's crap. It only seems to be getting worse. I don't really understand that. At some point, it has to get. It's crap. It really is crap. Gungshi, my God. That nanny red. that Nanny Red would always give me PTSD. Seeing Fergie's reaction, seeing Mourinho go straight to the bench, bring Modric on immediately, him scoring within 10 minutes. Obviously, in the goodness of time, we knew why Fergie's reaction was like that. It's because it was his last Champions League game. And it is a shame. It is a shame, yeah? Right. Let's move on and let's speak about Harry Kane. I think my video at lunchtime is going to have to be on Harry Kane, right? And that's the word I've been using. It's the word I will continue to use when it comes to referees. In the same way, I was speaking to a mate yesterday. Look, players get yellow cards and red cards for things they've done wrong, for rules they've broken. There has to be something in place for that. The referees have to have that same sort of accountability. If a referee makes a clear and obvious error, Anthony Taylor, 12 yards away, staring at a handball in Man United against Southampton. That is a clear and obvious error. You have neglected your duties as a referee. You've missed that. Yellow card, whatever it is. You're not refereeing in the Premier League next week. You get Dr. Weeks. Well, sod knows what it would be. But there has to be some form of accountability. Because it is only referees and officials who aren't accountable for their own actions in football. As a manager, you're not even allowed to speak out against them. If you do, you just get you get banned and fined by the FA. That's like a dictatorship sort of thing. Pure censorship. If you're a player, you're going to get yellow cards and red cards. Managers, you abide by the same rules, but referees, you can do what you want. Nothing will happen. That has to change. That has to change, in my opinion. Anyway, Harry Kane. We spoke about Harry Kane quite a bit yesterday. And just a little bit of an update on this side of things is that we're now hearing pretty much what we spoke about yesterday from David Ornstein on the fact that Spurs don't want to sell Harry Kane. Fabrizio Romano saying the exact same thing. Tottenham are still intend to keep Harry Kane. Melissa Reddy from Sky Sports. Tottenham are unwilling to sell Harry Kane. And I personally think that United have got to make this decision very, very quickly. This isn't a case of waiting for new owners. This is a case of drawing a line in the sand extremely quickly. Because the one thing that Manchester United cannot afford to do this summer is act the way we acted last summer. I think last summer, in terms of the signings we made, on a surface level, I think we had a cracking summer. However, when you start chipping and you chipping down, you start looking a little bit deeper, you start realizing how much we overpaid, how long we took to sign that player, how long we were stuck in negotiations for other players. And you realize that the actual operations of Manchester United's transfers were just not good enough. Now, Spurs, especially if they get Poch in, there is no chance, absolutely no chance that Kane leaves. He stayed this long under this many managers. If Poch comes back, I think he absolutely stays. And I think I'd be very surprised if Poch didn't go back. You type yes or no in the comments. Well, actually, no, not yes or no. Who do you think will be the next manager of Spurs? Because Conte's not lasting after this season, is he? Conte's gone. Who could have possibly predicted that replacing Jose Mourinho with another Jose Mourinho wasn't going to work at Spurs? It's probably going to be Thomas Tuchel or it's going to be Mauricio Pochettino. And out of the two, you're probably looking at Poch. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Poch. I think Poch would want it. I think Spurs would want it too. They say don't go back. I mean, I always remember that. Remember that season where, was it 2 years? There was a season where Spurs didn't spend a penny and Spurs still competed. And there was a season, I think just the one before, where if they spent that little bit more, when Spurs just fell short and finished second, they could have won the league. They absolutely could have won the league there. Paul, do you think Conte might be gone before the end of the season? Could happen. Onfield, you're saying Poch. Miss Teacup, you're saying Poch. Anderson, you are saying Tuchel, and so are you, Afik. You would imagine one of the two. Honestly, you laugh, right? But if you flip the two managers and you put Conte at Chelsea and you put Potter at Spurs, I would genuinely think that both clubs would be in better positions because of it. Because the managers would suit the club's ball. Martin, you're saying Lindelof and Sabitzer are back in the training squad. That's good news. Is that being released whilst we've been live and direct on stream? That might have been. Let me quickly check that. Oh yeah, big fan of that. Man United's Twitter account rarely gets wins, but that there is a little bit of a win. Let me pull this bad boy up. I was going to mention this later in the show because it's really random, but I wanted to bring this up here. Look at this. Pep Guardiola speaking after the game yesterday, saying, "I've got 3 heroes in life: Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts came to Manchester. She said, 'Come see us. Even if I win the Champions League, it will be a failure because of the disappointment of Julia Roberts going to Manchester United.'" And Man United just tweeted this. It's about the only victory we're going to get there right now, isn't it? But that was funny. I didn't realize how much that Pep Guardiola loved Julia Roberts, by the way. I did not know that. Let me see if I can find the full training squad. Look there. No, 1 second there. This is just coming out whilst we're live on the show together, so I haven't got it prepared. Miss Guzzi. Oh, Martinez is going to be alongside Ten Hag for the. Is that his first time he's going to be in the pre-match press conference? Anthony's not in training this morning. That's what we're hearing. Sabitza's back in training. Martial's also training. I was going to speak about Anthony, actually. This. Right? I've defended Anthony probably more than most have this year. I felt obviously his goal return has been fantastic, but his creativeness has certainly lacked. And if you can look at this list here and you look at this is the expected assists per 90 among any wingers who have played, what is it, 900 minutes? I can't remember what the minimum amount of minutes is. But Matoma is absolutely crushing it at Brighton. And unfortunately for Anthony, he's down there with an expected assist of 0.05 per 90. He's absolutely got to improve in that. And this is what Erik ten Hag has sort of spoken about him being brave. Oh, there you go. Yeah, look, a minimum of 900 minutes played. What's your take on Anthony? Sandeep, you're saying that Anthony's overhyped. I don't think Anthony's overhyped, but I do think that Anthony is overpriced. We all do. And I've said this to so many people. I said, if Anthony was signed for 40 million, I guarantee you that there will be far less scrutiny on his performances. But I have to admit that Anthony does need to, I don't think you can really exist as a Premier League winger now and just have 1 foot. It's not possible. I don't think so anyway. Not at the absolute elite level. You might be able to exist in Everton or something like that. But if you want to go to the top table, you need to have an ability to use both feet. You need to have an unpredictability about whether you're going on the inside or the outside. Because if you don't have that, a defender knows how to defend against you and therefore can block your first option. Let me see what you're all saying down here in the comments. Natasha, you're probably on the same wavelength as I am in terms of giving him time in the first season. It's not like a golden ticket that everybody gets in their first season, but I trust Ten Hag. And if Ten Hag was confident enough to spend that much money on Anthony, then he knows there's a player there and somebody who can create every single game. If Anthony had passed instead of trying to score with that chip, he'd at least have an assist. Oh, man, that was outrageous. That was probably the biggest and the worst example of Anthony having 1 foot. Because if he could have stroked that across the box with his right foot, would have been the easiest assist in the entire world. Gus Bus, thank you very much for the super chat there, dude. I always appreciate these nice ones. I appreciate what you do as well, my friend. Everyone does for the community. Let me see what you're saying down here. I think somebody, man, Seven Samurai, how you doing, dude? Thank you so much. Gifting 5 memberships. Absolute ledge. I think the majority of us all feel pretty similar around Anthony. I think Manchester United are a better team when Anthony plays. However, he does need, I don't know the right way to describe it. I don't think it's directness. I said that previously early this season that Anthony needs to be more direct. Run at his man. I still think that's part of it, but he's just got to have that inner belief, that inner confidence that he can skip past someone. Because if you look at Facundo Pellistri, Manchester United are in talks over a new contract, and you're watching how Pellistri plays, and you're watching how Garnacho plays. Directness is definitely part of it, but it's the confidence that you can just beat your man, that you can run round your man, get that cut back in, and get an easy assist. He has to improve, right? He does have to improve in that regard. And I've been someone who has defended him quite a lot, and I still think he's popped up with some big goals for us this season. Arsenal at home. It's a shame that City away goal counts for absolutely sweet FA. The winner against Barcelona, then against Betis to bring us back into the game. He's impacted and affected quite a few important games. However, I do understand this as well, that he's just not creating enough for others. And as a winger not in Manchester United, as a winger, you have to be able to have that creativity to put chances on the table for other players in your team. And that's something that he definitely has to improve in his own game. And I think that will come in time. The thing that's happened immediately is his best weapon. Cut back on that left foot, find that top corner. He's done it plenty of times now. It's a good shot. It's a good move to have, and it works. But he needs other moves. And look, I've spoken about this as well. Like, everyone calls him a one-trick pony. And I say it's a pretty damn good trick to have. And Iron Robin created an entire career out of being a one-trick pony. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that the Premier League has just become so difficult. You're really going to struggle as a winger overall if you don't have the ability to do other things. That's what I think. Now, if I take a look at my predicted 11 for this game tomorrow night, I put Anthony down on that right wing. But if Anthony's not in training, then it's quite an easy switch there, isn't it? Because let's be honest, Pellistri absolutely deserves that position there after the cameos that he's put in this season, hasn't he? Thanos, I think that is a massively wrong comment there, by the way. Mahrez a one-trick pony. Mahrez is far from a one-trick pony. Mahrez, you could argue now that Mahrez was the best signing that was made from that Leicester City squad that won the league. It was always Kante, basically. But I think you could fairly argue now that Mahrez was actually the biggest coup that somebody signed from that team. Hey, Mahrez is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I wish we had signed him from that team. My word. Seven Samurai saying, unpopular opinion, but I honestly believe Anthony should be given some game time on the left-hand side. Perhaps, though, through switches in game. I mean, it does happen, actually, sometimes. I think, who was it? What game was it the other day? We have seen Anthony switch to the left sometimes. And maybe that would be naturally where he skips on the outside and fires in a cross. But I don't think, well, if you're looking at how United played early this season, in the preseason for sure, we weren't really crossing. It was cutbacks, different sorts of cross. Instead of just firing a cross into the box because you're getting into a position on the byline, you take an extra touch in and then you cut it back to the edge for those late runners into the box. That's what we were doing in preseason. More of a chance of scoring from that. But yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance that Mahrez is a one-trick pony. No way. But Pellistri, if Anthony's missing from the game, then Pellistri comes straight back in that starting 11. Are there any other changes that you would make to that starting 11? Can you let me know in the comments below? I've already ran through my prediction yesterday. Lo and behold, after a 0-0, no one wants to speak about the football games. I always watch it. I always find it fascinating. But I suppose if I didn't run United People's TV and I did this effectively wasn't my job, maybe I would just ignore football for a little bit as well. But I always I can always see the peaks and the troughs. And people always sort of accuse, they don't accuse me of it as much anymore. But they're like, oh yeah, you thrive off, you do better when United lose. That's when people want to come and laugh at you. It's like, I really don't. I never have. No one wants to listen to what I've got to say when United lose. No one wants to talk about United when they lose. If you want that, you can go on other channels if you want to point and laugh at someone. But you're never going to get that on United People's TV. Always found that quite funny. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Josh is going to get all gunny, is pulling out some guns tomorrow. I don't know what. I apologize to everyone in the comments. It really distracted me today. And big up to all the mods who help moderate these. Goes to show that you're doing your job properly. So big up to all of you. Pelistri should start, says Ben. I really don't want to see Bruno there, says Chetan. Now, Bruno is somebody who, well, he is a yellow away from a suspension. If Bruno's not there, who do you play there? Because the idea of playing Fred in the number 10 scares the crap out of me. It really does. Let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. Tony, man, thank you so much. Tony's just gifted 5 memberships. Who are the lucky 5? Let me try and read some names out. We've got Red G, we've got Aaron Gilpin, we've got Anthony Mocker, we've got Hard Trill, and the big guy. Everyone say thank you very much to Tony. Ledge, thank you very much, sir. Let me see what you're saying down here. Let me pull this up there. Yeah, I do have a positive disposition. That's probably why no one cares when we lose. Why am I going to go and listen to the positive dude when we lose? That's going to be a boring show. Probably is, actually. Anthony's saying that you would be playing Martinez in midfield. I don't think we'd ever see it. I don't, just what my gut instinct is saying. Robert, you're saying that Delo should start. We could be seeing him there. What would it take to rig the PS5 draw? Well, Jammy Jam Jars, there's no jam involved here. It's a pure open raffle. Anybody goes in, you can win a PS5 for £1. And I really hope it happens to someone, because how amazing would that be? But that's exactly what the raffle's there for. And it's my intention of every single month now, I want to do a giveaway like this. This is the first of it. Wanted to see how it goes. And if it works, then next month we can make it even bigger. What do you reckon we should do next month? And no, we're not doing a car. Hard, you want to see Casemiro and Sabitzer. If Sabitzer's fit, then you probably start Sabitzer. And you might even rest Casemiro too, because he is 1 yellow card away from missing the first leg of the quarterfinal if United get there. Sancho in at number 10. That could well happen. Don't think that's been particularly fruitful in these last few games, though, is it? I don't particularly think so. Rashford through the middle, says Dave. Sancho on the left. Veg as that number 10. There's definitely... there's options we've got here. And the reality is this, man. We're 4-1 up. This should be a walk in the park. However, it's always at that exact same time the complacency creeps in. And that's been something that hurts United previously. Let's find out what goes on, right? You can watch it. If you want to see my prediction for the game, go and watch the starting 11 video. I released that yesterday. Big up to you, Aaron. I like comments like this. I like comments that of new members coming into the community, because I've received so many messages and DMs as well from people. I've always said, and I will reiterate this, I'm not here for any sort of YouTube beef. If you want that, you're in the wrong place. I'm not here to cause friction between anybody. Everybody is entitled to do what they want to do. I don't agree with everything that everyone does. Of course I don't. But I do things my own way. And I'm glad that the community has grown naturally off the back of that. It's nice when communities grow for the right reasons rather than it's nice when communities grow for the right reasons. Look at that. Ismail, with your first ever super chat on YouTube. Lovely to have you on board here. Thank you very much, dude. There's a super chat there from Jonathan saying, how about an e-bike? That is random. Are you Dutch, Jonathan? Because that seems like a very Dutch orientated request. Because the Dutch love the bikes. The Dutch love the bikes. They're quite expensive, aren't they? I don't know why they're so expensive. I suppose it's like new technology, right? Let's see what your last couple of minutes of the show. Fire in your predictions. What do you think will happen in the game? Any questions you want to ask me? I'll leave it open to a Q&A. And as I've always said, and I keep apologizing for this because it's true, the arms is coming back. I'm going to be the return of the arms, the Q&A sessions with members only. It's right there. So close. But I've just been, what have I been doing this week? Been organizing the PS5 giveaway. I'm organizing a newsletter, which is going to be pretty cool. I'll tell you a little bit more about that soon. I'm organizing a big upgrade for the studio that's going to be going on behind the scenes over the next couple of weeks. Some big stuff. And unfortunately, it's just been a little bit too busy for me to restart the arms just yet. Natasha, you're saying, look, we need to be solid and work as a team. There are still players who go for goal when in reality they should have passed the ball, and that irritates me. You have to have a little bit of greed in football. The best goal scorers are greedy goals, and that's why they're the greatest goal scorers, right? But you have to know, you have to pick and choose when to be selfish, right? Anthony, you're saying rest Casemiro start. I think Casemiro is going to get enough rest. Let's be honest. I think Casemiro is going to get enough rest over these next 4 games. So I'm not sure resting him is a thing we need to do. Are we going to meet the new manager on video? I don't know what you mean with that one. Sorry. Gongshi, man. Look at that. Let's finish the stream with a Gongshi. A Gongshi. Like a gentle Gongshi. Am I building you? I don't know what I'm doing. It's just taken a sweet. It's taken a long old time. I apologize to everyone who's had to wait for this. But yeah, it's coming soon. I do promise. I really, really promise. Martin, you're saying, did you get my message on Instagram? I might have done. I'll go back and check. But look, big up to everyone. Apologize about the YouTube bugs and errors for some reason. Kind of twisting the chat. Big up to all of the community every single day. I'm looking forward to United being back tomorrow because I tell you what, after a 0-0 draw, there is such a damp squib of a feeling around talking about United among all of, not just all of you, but in general. So hopefully United can go there tomorrow night and do the job we need to do, beat Fulham, 2 more wins, go into this international break, heading into the FA Cup semi-final, heading into the Europa League quarter-final. That'll be a cracking way to go into it. But big up to all of you. I'll do my lunchtime video today. I'll let you know what it's on. Take it easy.